Hey, I'm Mark Edward Lewis, and welcome to Cinema Sound Studio B. We worked on Blade of Honor for many months, and I want to show you how we did our final delivery. A lot of you have asked, how do you deal with the final delivery and the exports and, the deliverables and all of that? We're going to be in Pro Tools, so it may be a little confusing if you're not familiar with how that routing looks, but I promise this works generally for every digital audio workstation, and it can work for you so that when you get ready to do that, you're not straggling around going, wait, how do I route? You'll just go, I've already set it up, here's the button pushes, and I'm good to go. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Making deliverables right and getting them made easily doesn't happen at the end. It always happens at the beginning, and you need to set up your session, regardless of the digital audio workstation, in such a way that it's already pre-wired. Why? Well, first of all, it's stuff you don't have to do at the end when you're tired of listening to things and you're out of time and out of money. But it also means that you know what things are going to sound like because they're being routed in such a way that you're listening to these outputs and knowing if there's any kind of weirdness, or even if your computer hardware and audio hardware can handle the strain. So let's take a look at this session. This is the final mix of Blade of Honor. It's about 256 channels, full HDX card worth, and I'll show you here in the yellow are the master outputs that we'll be looking at here. And then over here in the red are the dialogue. And we're just going to scroll down, lots of dialogue. And then the green is sound effects. And if you're unfamiliar with Pro Tools, it's kind of simple, similar to everybody else. Up here, you've got the plugin instantiations. You've got the input and output, automation, groups, pan, input, record, solo, mute, the fader, outputs, and the name. It's pretty standard stuff, nothing earth-shattering there. And then here in the blue, we have the ambiances. The brown is the Foley. The pink lavender is the music, and then muted tracks at the end. And then to look at it in a different way, in the edit window, if you will, here we still have this stuff over here on the yellow. And be very familiar too. There's all of our dialogue tracks, scene by scene, character by character, sound effects, and all the little black lines are automation, little horizontal black lines anyway. Lots of sound effects. There's our ambiances, and let's see. Here is a drop back to the top. Here's the Foley. Lots and lots of Foley. And then as we get to the bottom here, I see what's happening. My mouse is going in the wrong place. We've got all the music stems. Lots of stereo music stems, and then muted tracks. So we'll go back here to the outputs. Now in Pro Tools, we have a whole bunch of ways of choosing different windows. And for now, we're going to choose this particular window set, which gives us only the masters and the buses. And the first thing we want to do in all of our disciplines in audio is set up each discipline so that it has some kind of a master bus or a voltage control amplifier so that all of the faders of that discipline get summed to one fader that gives us all kinds of control over, say, all the dialogue tracks on one fader. And maybe we want to add an EQ to it or a plug-in, and we can do that by, instead of dropping that plug-in or EQ on every dialogue track, we can just drop it on this bus or VCA and make it work. That's exactly what we have here. You'll look here in the red, it says dialogue bus, dialogue VCA. We got both here, and I've added the isotope neutron plugin and the de-esser from Waves Audio. Pretty simple stuff, just to contour all of the dialogue. And then same with sound effects. We've got another one here. But basically, it gives us all of those channels in one channel. So here's all the ambiances, here's all the Foley, here's all the music, sound effects, dialogue, and then the masters themselves. So it's really, really important you set up your sessions that way beforehand, because you don't want to be doing this at the end, because sometimes in some digital audio workstations, that will change your sound and possibly your levels, which is a drag. We don't want to get all the way to the end, only to have to rebalance our levels. Well, cool. Now, how do we do our deliverables now that we've got all that out of the way? Well, I like to have a bus. In this case, this is a surround bus, and I'm probably blocking it a little bit here. Zoom in here for a second so we can get a better view. This is the master bus. All channels are routed to their respective buses, the ambience bus, the Foley bus, the music bus, dialogue bus, and each one of those, if you look here, 5.1, 5.1, 5.1 masters, all going to the 5.1 master input. You can do this in almost every digital audio workstation, Audition, Logic, Nuendo, all of them do this kind of thing where you can route buses two buses, channels to buses, and those buses, two more buses. Well, why would you want to do that? Well, this gives me contour overall plug-in control over all channels on one channel. And in this case, I've got the MEQ up and running that allows me control over the subwoofer. I want to do my roll off on the LFE channel. I also have Neutron running, so I have an overall contour. You can see here a loudness contour for the theatrical release. And then I've got an overall multi-band, it's called a compressor, on the overall output, again, for the DVD output. From there, I am running it through another set of buses, which is kind of just my own thing, has nothing to do with deliverables. But basically, we go to the final output, and I have that on a special channel. Now, in Pro Tools, you do it on a special channel. In other digital audio workstations, you can actually do an offline bounce directly from your final bus master or regular master. It doesn't really matter. All right, so making a mix is easy. We just hit the big red button or go to File, Bounce to Disk, or whatever your digital audio workstation will do, and you make it happen. No problem. But what if I want to make an M&E, music and effects channel only? Well, how would I do that? Well, if you've set this up correctly, like I'm suggesting, where all the disciplines are on their own buses, all you have to do is go to the dialog bus and mute it. Now, that's the cheap and easy way of doing it. The right way to do it is to do a new mix without the dialogue in there. But if it's got to be fast, then it doesn't really matter to you, which probably should. But if you're out of time, you mute the dialogue track. And now all of the dialogue tracks are muted because they all have to pass through this bus. And then you would do the same thing. You would go to File, Bounce to Disk. Good to go. And the same thing when you need to do your dialogue only effects. I don't tend to want to do soloing. That's usually not the way I do it. I'll just mute all of the other disciplines and each one in kind as I need to make them. Now, what about your stereo down mix? You notice that there's some yellow tracks here that are going on. Well, that's also very possible to do in almost every digital audio workstation as long as your digital audio workstation has a down mix plugin. Look very carefully here. I've got the 5.1 master. Hard to see, isn't it? 5.1 master coming from all of the disciplines. They're coming here. And that's great. That's going basically out to the 5.1 print master. What does that mean? That means that all of the surround sound EQ, compression, and everything that I need to do to make the DVD master, the cinema master, possibly even the internet master, that's all getting done and being sent to my record channel, which is called the 5.1 print master. And that's kind of the sound that I want to be, the final output. But look over here on this stereo channel, on the stereo channel, I have the same thing, 5.1 print master. So it's getting sent the same, but being received on two different channels. In this case, this one has the down mixer. And in Pro Tools, it's a pretty basic thing, but in every digital audio workstation, it's pretty basic. Left, center, right. Left surround, right surround, LFE, and your digital audio workstation should know how to divvy up what's what. You have the left full, right full, center channel down -3, and then experiment with your surrounds between -6 dB and -4.5, depending on how much information you put exclusively back in the surrounds. The more exclusive you have information in the backgrounds, in the surrounds, the higher up these need to be. And then the LFE, I like to have it -3. From there, it's being downmixed to stereo. And then in stereo, I've created another EQ. I'm not currently using it, but it allows me to contour the stereo mix independently of the 5.1 output, just in case there's any kind of frequency issues with these tracks all being combined. And then I have another limiter here at the end, so that I make sure I don't go over on the stereo. If you set up your down mix plugin the way I'm suggesting, it should be the same overall volume as your 5.1 master, but sometimes it isn't, and I don't want to take any risks with quality control giving me a call. I hate that. So we just put that limiter in, and we're good to go. And we can burn these all at the same time. And in almost every digital audio workstation I can think of, except perhaps Logic, you can do that by selecting multiple outputs to be burned offline. And you can do it online, too, by assigning, you see how I already have a record button, and if I click that and click the 5.1 master, I can burn them all in real time. And that's how you do your masters. The big deal is the big thing to take away is set up your groups and your buses and all of that beforehand, and it makes dealing with any kind of deliverable that you need so much easier. So although this is in Pro Tools, I promise that 99% of what I've shown you here can work in any of your digital audio workstations. It may have its own skin, its own way of doing things, but it will work, and you'll be able to set this up for all of your templates moving forward so that when you get to the end and you're ready to do your export, you hit your buttons and you're ready to go. Let us know how your exports are doing by contacting us on the cinemasound.com forum. Until then, we'll see you in post.
Even if you're stuck.